Hi testing folks, welcome to Confirmic. Confirmic has come up with its new release build Creator 4.5.3. With this new release build, user can have many benefits. The new enhancements which are provided in this new version build will make sure that users get more power and more control over the test cases generation and can experience faster test cases generation. So let me walk through you with the new features that you can see in this new release build. So here are the new enhancements which are carried around the test design configurations as well as with respect to test case export and management. But before I walk through you all in detail about these enhancements, let me tell you the background of these enhancements, the need of having these enhancements in this new version release. The objectives which we have worked around in this new version build is that as we know that for the model to be source of truth, the model must always be updated for any change in the application behavior, so that the test cases which are generated they always remain current and be corresponding to the updates made in the application. But with such continuous changes, instead of testing the entire model, there may be a need to generate tests for specific areas or modules or the flows of application under test. Now, out of several such use cases, there could be requirements in a use case where for which the targeting the areas where application is being modified forms a particular sprint in terms of agile testing process or particular release in terms of water testing process. The other use case can be the targeting areas for sanity check to generate tests for high level end-to-end flow, or for regression where there is need to generate tests covering important functionality for regression testing, or even for functional where the corresponding to changes within the sprint or release needs to be tested, and this testing becomes the requirement instead of testing the entire application or having the test cases generated for the entire application. Now, for these use cases, the current process which we follow is that generating the, as mentioned earlier, generating the test cases for the entire model application and then trying to sort out the test suites which are required for the current scope of testing and analysis. And this requires the tester needs to put extra efforts. Also, in this process, there could be an overall project timeline delay. And if any approach is employed for creating the copies of the original model, either by removing or deleting the flows in the activity diagram for the every change, or there could be the need of having a copy for each of the targeted area, then for all these copies, it can lead to the maintenance issue. Hence, in order to overcome these inefficiencies, the efficient way would be leveraging the concept of multiple test design configuration. And this is what the objective for which the new enhancements has been carried out around the test design configuration. So let me explain you in detail each of the enhancements made in this test design configuration. In test design configuration, now only one test design configuration can be enabled and be targeted at a time for the test target setting changes or for the test generation and even for exporting of the test cases. The user can create as many as test design configurations as required, provided only one test design configuration will be enabled and the rest of them will be disabled. So let me demonstrate to each of these the enhancements carried out around the test design configurations in the creator. As you can observe, this is a creator's workspace. Now when I'm trying to create a new project and I'll try to give a project has a name called as demo, and I try to create this empty demo project, you will observe that by default the test design configuration has been created and it is in enable mode. And when I try to delete this test design configuration, the tool makes sure that at least one enabled design configuration exists in order to generate test cases. Now if I try to generate or create new test design configuration, say DC2, then by default the tool will make sure that the new test design configuration created is in disable mode. Even though if I try to have multiple test design configuration, the tool will make sure that except the first design configuration, all the other test design configurations are in disable mode. As you can see, I have considered here a sample demo project and I tried to model a sample application called as Parabank. Now, as you can see, I have considered here two test design configurations. One is in enable and one is in disable mode. As I mentioned earlier, the tool will make sure that the enable test design configuration cannot be deleted and it can neither be disabled. But when it comes to the disable test design configuration, the tool does allow user to delete this particular test design configuration. Now considering again this project to have a new test design configuration say DC2 provided. Now in the confirming test design perspective, as we can see the test target view here, only for the enable test design configuration I can try to make some changes, say I can block. But if I come to the disable test design configuration, you see there is no test target view available for this disable test design configuration. Once there are test cases in the database for this enable test design configuration, the export test button will be active, as well as if a scripter exists for this particular design configuration and which is in enable mode, then you can also see the render test option available for rendering the test cases. As you can observe for this project name, indicator marker has been given which is currently in blue color, indicating that for this particular project the test cases exist in the database. Now when I'm trying to switch between the DCs, say when I'm trying to enable the DC2, you will observe that to pop-up message where the tool asks the user to export the test for the currently enabled DC and then enable the selected test design configuration, or user can also have the option directly enabling the selected test design configuration. If I select the first option, then you will observe that the test cases have been generated for the enabled scripter in a separate folder structure, and the currently enabled test design configuration is disabled and the selected test design configuration is enabled. Also, this particular change or the switch between the different test design configurations is indicated to the user by this indication marker which has changed to red color. Hence, for any change, the currently enabled test design configuration undergoes changes. Say the changes made in the test target view for these different test targets, where some of the test targets are being blocked, or if there are some changes made in the model, then you can see that this indication marker turning to red. This indication marker turns back to blue once the test cases are generated. As you can observe, when I'm trying to generate test cases now, the particular indicator turns back to blue. Now coming back to other enhancements, which is around the test case export and management. In this new version release, you can find a separate folder structure which stores the test cases as per as the test design configuration. That is, for each of the test design configuration, you can find a separate subfolder within this new folder structure for storing the test cases. So let me show you the enhancements made around this test case management in the creator. So when I try to render the test cases now, you will observe that a separate test cases folder gets created. So within this test cases folder, we can see a separate sub folder is created, and this folder represents the particular enabled test design configuration. Within this subfolder, you will observe that all the files for that particular scripter have been generated. Now if I try to add another scripter, say Gherkin BRM scripter, and I try to export the test cases for this particular scripter, you will observe that a separate folder will be created even for this particular Gherkin BRM scripter. As you can observe, a separate folder has been created for the Gherkin BRM scripter as well. The tool will make sure that the test cases which are generated for a particular scripter in an enable test design configuration have been stored in a well organized way by having this folder structure. Now, in this new version build, you will also observe certain enhancements carried out for the integrations. For the Excel scripter, now you can see an option where you can sort the test cases before exporting in such a way that having these options, all the test cases which are generated get sorted with respect to the test case names in alphabetical order. Also, a static text prefix can be added along with a numeric counter which will be provided directly by the tool. With respect to QC-ALM scripter, the field value can now be added to a require field, which is created in the ALM after the test cases are exported for the first time. Apart from these enhancements, certain minor fixes have also been carried out in this new version build around the Robo Framework scripter as well as the export button, which you can observe and experience yourself by downloading the tool. You can download the tool at Confirmic Extranet portal. Also, We will be happy to help you to have better testing experience with Creator's new version and the other usage guidance by downloading the deployment guidelines version 3 from the same extranet portal. You can always reach out to us to support@confirming.com for any queries or support needed with this product upgrade. Thank you.